right, everyone. This is Chris Petefish. Podcast is Golf Strategy with Chris Petefish, and we're giving podcasting a whirl. Here we are. So, in this episode, we are going to do just a little bit of house cleaning, introductory items. I'm just going to talk a little bit about introducing myself, who I am, what Course of Action Golf is, and what they do, what I do within the company. I'm going to briefly talk about strokes gained, what really it is, what it means, and then talk a little bit about statistics in all sports and kind of the evolution of how it's transformed the way Major League Baseball, NBA, NFL, how they operate, the actual game itself, how it's changed through stats, and how golf is going to follow in their footsteps if it's not already happening right now. So first off the checklist, again, this is episode 1. The beginnings. Myself, I guess I don't want to date myself too much, but I guess it helps to talk a little bit about who I am in my history of golf. Let's see, I was a top 5 recruit in 2014 high school graduating class, grew up in Northern California, played a lot of incredible players, a lot of incredible talent during that time. You think of, I was like 9, 10 years old. First time I played with Bryson DeChambeau. I grew up an hour and a half from him. You think of Austin Smotherman, Cameron Champ, Bo Hosser played a little bit. Quite a few guys that Nico Galletti had a really nice year on the Korn Ferry. Shintaro and Shotaro Bond were great players. Some of them aren't playing anymore, but just a ton of talent during that time frame. And it was good to have that competition. I then went to play golf at Georgia Tech under Bruce Hepler from 2014, 2018. I guess we'll go into some of those years, which correlates to strokes gained and how I actually started using it in college. I had some good years. I had some bad years. I end up, though, being a top 50 amateur in the world after a very good junior summer of amateur golf. And then I ended up turning professional. It's something I always wanted to do and see how good I could get at golf. I think that inspired me more than some of the results even, was just improving and get to be able to see that improvement in high stress situations in tournament golf. Just be able to hit the shots like Victor Hovland says, just execute great golf shots. That's just about as good as it gets for me, as well as him and what he said. So yeah, I ended up playing professionally. I started on PGA Tour Canada in 2018, had conditional status out there. Definitely was thrown into the fire. Just started with some Monday qualifiers, missed 3 or 4 of them by a shot, which was brutal. And then played a lot of mini tour golf. I tried Q School a couple times until I got through. I played basically a whole season in Canada in 19, right before COVID. COVID happened, and then everyone was stuck on their tour for a year and a half, basically, and I wasn't on the Korn Ferry. So that was a struggle just to get playing really good tournaments. And then I finally broke through and got Korn Ferry status for 2022 and played out there, got conditional again for 23, and then played really well, obviously, in 2023. And almost got my PGA Tour card, and then lost my card in 24 and played on Americas in 2025 this summer, it was fun to get back out there for sure. Definitely have some stories there. But in the meantime, got married, having a baby next spring. So a lot of life things have changed for the better. But in terms of what Course of Action Golf is, it's a company my mom started about 10 years ago. This is when a lot of, you could say, college recruiters, planners, consultants started to get wind. And she did a lot of strategic planning for junior players on how to navigate, where to play. It's one of those things when you've done it yourself, you're like, oh, this seems easy and I know what to do. But when you've never gone through before, I can't imagine if I with my son playing another sport like tennis or something, I would have no idea where to put him, how to hit for him to get recognized. So it definitely makes sense. And it was really, it did really well, and still doing well. And I just where I came in is within the last year, coming from it from a performance aspect. So she does a lot of the, again, scheduling, where to play. I am more focused on statistics and getting people to play better golf at those events. And I'm just a big numbers guy. I've always wanted to understand where and why things are the way they are through numbers, especially with performances in sports, and really being able to quantify. And with golf, there's just such a there's just so much to be dug into with statistics and how to play golf. And I think people just don't really see how much it can really help you and how the game ought to be played. And so I have a huge passion for it, considering that I did this all myself. Like, I know it works because I am the first test subject, I am my own first client, and I was able to do it and use statistics, use decade, use correct targets, and understand how to practice, and understand my game, and be able to instill that into other junior players, other amateurs, other professionals that use my services is pretty cool. It's also rewarding, and it obviously fires me up because I know it works. Like, I just know that the numbers are going to help you play better golf. So it's pretty easy to get passionate about something that is going to help people do what they want to do in the game. And so that's where I work with Course of Action Golf, is the performance coach side. Several ways that people can work with me. First off is the fish tank, which is a minimum 3-month program. It's a mentorship. It is me going through all your statistics. I want you to be able to have me in your pocket by the end of the time, almost like a caddy, where, okay, this is like how Chris would think about this shot. Here's how he'd go about his round in tournament play. It also has to do with, how do you prepare for events? Like, what are you doing in practice rounds? What are you doing at home? How are you uh, physically? Like, how are you recovering at events? Just the little stuff that adds up to a lot that I've learned in 20 years of competitive golf and almost a decade in professional golf. I've tried everything that doesn't work. I've tried everything that does. I've seen it in people that I've traveled with. I've seen it in people that are on the tours of, like, here are how high performers operate, and here's how people that could get more out of their golf game. And so, yeah, I go through this 3-month program with them. I teach them how they ought to think on the golf course, a lot of shot expectations, and they just become more knowledgeable of the game. They become more knowledgeable of what they're really good at. How are they going to play their best golf? How they ought to go through targets and practice, and just operate so that they get the most out of their game, squeeze the most out of their talent. And it's been really rewarding to see success from them throughout this process. And so that's one way people work with me. You can do it almost in you can also do it in an express version, which is just, I go through for an hour. You bring me your statistics on whatever platform it is. I can read numbers regardless of where it comes from. And I, almost like a doctor's visit, I'm just going to come in, look at all your numbers, and just be able to really read between the lines, which is what I'm good at, is being able to see these numbers, but interpret, like, here's what's happening. Ask the questions that AI wouldn't be able to infer a lot more, just from my knowledge and expertise, and just my amount of years experience in the game. So being able to, like, almost diagnose again like a doctor would, and have someone come in for an hour and leave with a good idea of, what do I do with these numbers? How should I be practicing? How should I think about my game in order to get better in that hour versus like a 3 to 6 month mentorship. I'm also have a couple other products I'm working on, a strokes gain PDF that I just launched that goes through all the top strokes gain platforms. I've tried them all out, actually, within the last year, inputted a lot of rounds, and it's really meant to kind of dive into what are really the differences of them. From my perspective, everyone's different. Everyone has different needs. So instead of going and doing a bunch of trial and error and all these trial memberships and spending time and money, like, I've done a PDF where I just go through all of them and help you figure out what you need and really what do these things do at the end of the day and how to try to interpret some of these numbers. I'll have some webinar content as well, talking about strokes gained, how to use it, how to come up with good targets, just stuff that I've learned that can help you without directly working with me if I get too many clients or whatnot. So yeah, some other ways to work with me, but that is what I do. I mean, I take the numbers and the math of golf and I make it simple. I make it easy to understand and to apply on the golf course. As far as strokes gained, like what is it? I think I'll probably do another episode that really dives deep into it. But really, it just comes from Mark Brody and him seeing how Moneyball in baseball changed the game and understanding statistics and deeper statistics in order to analyze what is happening. How do I optimize runs? How do I win more baseball games, especially when you have um, different salaries? You talk about the Oakland A's that don't spend a lot much money. You have the Dodgers that are willing to spend Nvidia types of money in order to win a championship. So how do you maximize talent when it's not an equal playing field when you don't have a salary cap? And so Brody, who was at MIT, he was able to really revolutionize how statistics are measured in golf. And that includes, fairways. Like an example would be a fairway hit or a fairway miss. And before it was just a check mark of did I do that or did I not? Well, it's like, I don't know if I missed the fairway did you miss the fairway by a foot and you're in the semi rough? Are you a foot into the actual rough? Are you 40 yards off the fairway in a bush in someone's backyard? Like that all matters a lot, as well as, did I miss the green by an inch, or am I, buried in the lip of the bunker? Those are two very different outcomes. So those normal generic stats just do not paint a very good picture of what is really happening, where are people actually gaining or losing shots. So strokes gained is a measurement compared to your other playing partners. So it's very easy on the PGA Tour to see like, okay, there's been millions and millions of 8-foot putts over the course of the last 20 years. Maybe the number is around million. Who knows? There's been a lot of putts. And, they'd be able to see like, okay, 50% of players, the PGA Tour players, are making 8-foot putts. So therefore, there's really only two outcomes of this putt. If I make it, I didn't just gain a shot, because it's a 50% likelihood that the PGA Tour player next to me is going to make this putt or miss it. So if I make this putt, I'm going to gain a half a shot. I'm not gaining a full shot. I'm gaining a half a shot, because that is what the expectation for the PGA Tour pro next to me to make this putt. And you can literally expand on that to every single lie, every single shot you can hit on a golf course. And so it really becomes a game of probabilities, expectations, and the goal is to beat the expectation of your competitors. Obviously, you have to beat it by quite a bit to win golf tournaments, but you just have to beat it in order to make cuts and have pretty good tournaments. And so golf has to be thought as of trying to gain tenths of shots. Every shot is going to be gaining tenths of shots, losing tenths of shots, hopefully not losing an entire shot, which would be like hitting into a hazard, losing 2 shots, hitting it out of bounds. And so if someone shoots a even par 72, like that is the culmination of 72 shots that were tenths of shots gained, tenths of shots lost, and it all equal to 72. And really it all equals to like comparing that to your competitors. So if the field average was 72.5, it's like, okay, I made up a half a shot today, but like, how did I make up a half a shot within the 72 shots that I hit? You could do that a million trillion ways. And so that's why with strokes gained, you can infer a lot of information, and everyone does it differently. Everyone has like a DNA print of how they shoot what they shoot. And there's just so many different opportunities to improve scoring, because there's so many different ways to score in golf compared to even baseball. When you think of off the tee approach, strokes gained around the green, and putting, there's a lot of variables in golf. So it makes it a little more complex, but it doesn't mean that the math doesn't work. And we'll get into course strategy at some point, but that's where Scott Fawcett and Decade comes in, because he then took the averages of where all these PGA Tour players hit shots in terms of dispersion, and being able to move that dispersion into the correct place in order to optimize your scoring. So I don't want to get too much into that, but really it's just like, if you hit 100 pitching wedges, like I need to account for all of them, where most players just say like, oh, I'm just going to aim relatively close to the hole, and I'm only going to account for like the 8 to 12 that I hit perfectly. I'm like, that is just not a good strategy. No one would ever advise doing that at the poker table or the blackjack table of like, oh, I got a 10% chance of, beating the dealer right here. Let's double down. It's just like, you just need to play golf a certain way. You need to play percentages a certain way, or it's not going to be optimal. So we'll get into that and try to make golf, the math of golf, fun and interesting. Not that math isn't the most exciting subject, but we're going to do our best here. And I want to talk about briefly why stats in sports, how it's evolved, and why it is so relevant to golf, and how that's going to change. And I think, bear with me, but I think this is pretty interesting stuff. I think what the question is like, how have stats influenced the modern game? And to that, I would say like information and knowledge is power. And when you talk about big corporations and big businesses and huge, like we're talking NBA, NFL, MLB types of money, you're going to do whatever you can to create an advantage. Like there's just, you have that billions of dollars online, especially in the betting markets. Like people's jobs are, I mean, you have coaches making 10, 20 million dollars a year. Like you are going to do everything you can to create an advantage. And so that's how, statistics is just kind of an easy stepping stone to like, yeah, obviously this was how it was going to go to try to improve on how the game has been thought of or played in the past, which is just, old rhetoric. And so 3 main examples I want to give: MLB, NBA, NFL, and how statistics has changed the way they operate. In baseball, there's a lot. We could talk about Moneyball. I think an easy one to talk about is even like the shift, and how like the defensive shift is like talking about probabilities of a player and where they are going to hit it in the infield. And so you would see like the actual defensive scheme move like over to first base, where like the third baseman ends up like just left of second base, and you just have like a bunch of players over to where the ball probably is going to end up, which makes sense. And so that kind of shift actually started in the 1940s, ironically, from a guy named William Shift, who played on the Boston Celtics. Apparently, this Shift guy would always hit it in between first and second base if he didn't, go yard or hit a line drive, single or double. Like it was always going over there. So like intuitively, these players in the 40s were like, well, why don't we just like move over to first base, and we're going to be much more likely to get this William Shift out. That's what they did just naturally, and they called it the shift. And interesting enough, in the 50s and 60s, that movement kind of died. They almost just kind of forgot about it for a while and just didn't use it. And then really in the 2000s, you talk about Billy Beane, the analytics of baseball exploding. They actually used dispersion charts because they're able to track where are all these hits ending up. And then it became like, oh, duh, why wouldn't we shift? Why wouldn't we give ourselves a better chance to record an out and have better defense? So that's what happened in the early 2000s, actually until 2023, where they banned the extreme infield shift because they wanted more offense. It was just like, okay, well, the defense has figured this out. People aren't scoring more runs. No one wants to see a game that ends in 2-1. They want to see home runs. They want to see action. And so they actually saw some of the ratings go down. Like, okay, we got to like nerf this. And so people in the MLB took advantage of analytics. They didn't do anything wrong. They were smart. And then, the higher powers said like, you guys need to chill out, and we need to see more runs. And so that's an example of analytics. In basketball, this is a great one. I'm a big NBA guy. The 3-point line has gone crazy. The sport has changed night and day. If you're someone you're in the 50, if you're 50 or 60 years old, like, like this is not the same sport growing up. You were watching the 80s and 90s, really the 90s specifically. And like a crazy stat is in 1990s, 7 3-pointers were attempted per game. 7. In 2024, it was 38. 38 per game. Insane numbers. Almost 6 times as many. And some people credit Steph Curry and said, oh, yeah, Steph came along, generational, best shooter on the planet. Like, everyone just wanted to model after Steph since they had a ton of success in Golden State. But I would actually disagree, and I would credit Daryl Morey of the Houston Rockets in the mid 2014, 2017, 18 years. And Morey is kind of basically a genius, and actually called it Morey Ball in honor of Moneyball. And what Daryl Morey kind of found out was that he used statistics to maximize points per possession. How can I get the most efficient points possible? And so they used shot charts, they used all the statistics, a field goal percentage, and this guy figured out, like, I just need to like never shoot a mid-range 2 ever. Like, I need to either shoot a 3 or I need to do a layup or attempt a layup, because threes are just worth so much more. And the fact that if you can shoot it at relatively good, even higher than like 37% of the time, like, shoot many threes often, early and often, and layups around the rim that are obviously very high percentage shots, like close to 70. And it's just what you've seen in the game of basketball in the last 10 years is like guys like Michael Jordan, even Kobe, Tim Duncan, Dirk, like those molds are gone. Like the age of the mid-range 2 it is just dead. It's like the same thing as the kind of fadeaway route in the NFL. Like, it's just a low percentage throw. It's the fadeaway was kind of a fun, cool route, but it's not a high percentage route, so it's just dying and dying. But anyways, back to basketball. Mid-range 2s are dying because analytics found out that 3-pointers and layups are more efficient and they're going to lead to more points. So why wouldn't you attempt shots that are going to lead to more points and model your team around players that benefit that style of play? So that's how small ball was literally created. You had a bunch of these like 6'6", 6'7" and under guys, no centers, and they all shot threes and played defense and created space so they could get to the rim. So it was just like chuck a 3 or create enough space where you can drive. And that's how James Harden was literally unstoppable. I think it was in 2017. You just couldn't stop it because there's just something they hadn't seen before. He had used statistics to like break basketball, and Harden was scoring 40 points per game. And so for better or for worse, that is how it's changed basketball. I don't think there's no going back, because it's an optimal strategy. You're going to score more points if you play this way. So people are just going to see who can do it the best of that strategy. And if you're a 7-foot center, you better shoot the 3. Like, it's just how it is. You're just not going to see the court if you can't shoot threes. That kind of age basketball is now dead based on statistics. My last example is the NFL and the change the kickoff rules even within the last year and a half. So the NFL changed from kickoff starting at the 25 if it was a touchback to now 35, which doesn't seem like a big difference. That's a huge difference. Huge difference. And you've seen fourth down attempts increase like double over the last couple of years. And I think teams are starting to realize that just how dramatic the difference is between 7 points and 3. I understand it's technically 6 for a touchdown because you have to get the extra point, but just think about like, oh, this makes sense because I'm going to get 50% more of the points. And if I'm in the red zone or within the 30, and if I have if I have a 4th and 3rd or less, you have statistics will tell us that you have a better than 50% chance of converting that. So if I have a better than 50% chance of converting that, and those points are 50% more, like, why would you not go for that almost every single time? Unless you're playing an unbelievable defense. And so that's what you're seeing with these fourth downs, like over doubling. It's just like, oh yeah, I have a better than 50% chance. I have 2 attempts basically in order to get what I would have gotten if I just kicked a couple field goals. And so it's the game is changing. The statistics are changing. People are getting more aggressive in the NFL. And it's also changing the way plays are called at the end of the half or at the end of the game, because it's just that much easier to score a field goal. Let's say the game's tied with 2 minutes left. You're going to hold off of that ball as much as you can, because if you're going to start at 35, you only need like 20, 25 yards in order to kick a field goal to tie the game. And it's much easier to do. I mean, you could do that with 30 seconds and no timeouts. I even saw something crazy with the Patriots and the Bucks the other week. Who was it? The Patriots had the ball with like a minute left in the first half, and Vrabel literally, Tampa Bay had no timeouts. Vrabel literally, the head coach of the Patriots, decided to swallow a play. Like, he basically almost took a kneel. Drake May just kind of dipped around and just took a knee, just to milk the clock so the Bucks could not get the ball back. They sacrificed an entire down just to say, like, oh, because if the Bucks get this ball back, they're gonna probably score 3, and this whole field goal thing was pointless. So, like, we're either going to score a field goal with 1 second left, or we're going to score a touchdown, but we're not going to give you the ball back. And so it's really changed the strategy of the NFL. And all of that goes to say, do you really think golf is not going to change, is not changing right now? Like, it absolutely is. Like, statistics are changing sports. It's going to change golf. It kind of already is. It's starting to. I think the biggest example is off the tee. Like, you just have to hit it very far and very straight. You're seeing guys that have had long careers be like, I'm just not going to play anymore because I do not hit it 320 yards on a frozen rope. Think of guys that are like almost doing soft retirements right now, like Kevin Kisner, or I could name a bunch of guys that were like the 270, 280 carry guys are like, I cannot compete anymore on these golf courses when, I'm giving up a shot and a half every single round to someone that's going to hit it 330 and hits it relatively straight. And so golf is starting to change, but I think really when it comes to like bogey avoidance and understanding the math of golf, there's a whole nother level that's going to happen. That's going to be like a NBA style of change in golf and the way that people approach and think about the game. And so that's what I'm teaching. You could put in the perspective, like, there are guys that still play golf like they're taking the fadeaway mid-range twos, and I'm trying to teach 3 balls and layups and scoring efficiently. Like, that is exactly what I'm trying to do in golf. Like, how are you going to score optimally in attacking a golf course? And so that's obviously why I believe in this, because I believe in math. The math checks out, and I know I can help people play better golf. So we're going to learn throughout this podcast a lot about math of golf and how to take that with you, whether it's practice, whether it's obviously in tournaments. Like, we want to use that in events. But also have different guests on to talk about this, to talk about other stuff, understanding, hey, what are the challenges of college? How should you be prepared? How should you talk to golf coaches? How should you reach out? So definitely a lot of knowledge throughout my past, different people that I know. And we're just going to start to learn a lot more about math and golf and have some fun on the way. So I think that's it for episode 1. We'll get it within 30 minutes. That's not bad timing. Since I'm just starting out, obviously, please like, subscribe, do all that cool stuff to support episode 1 and episodes in the future. So I appreciate it, guys. Signing off till next time.